While Emily Hearn and Mark Thurman had most impressive careers, we did not choose them as the co-creators of the Mighty Mites because of that. We chose them.
be starting very soon. If everybody wants to grab a seat, there are seats in the balcony and there's an overflow room across from the bar. There's one seat in the front row if anybody would like it. One seat open in the front row if anybody wants it. Welcome to the 2026 Doug Wright Awards. Please welcome Chair of the Doug Wright Awards and future host of his own Miami Vice Rewatch podcast, Brad Mackay.
Can everybody hear me okay? Can everybody hear me okay? Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, hang on. I just needed that vodka to get me in the mood. Can you hear me now? The monsters in the balcony, can you hear me? I can only speak so loud. Is that good? Okay, we're good. I'm Brad, chair and co-founder of the Doug Wright Awards, and it is my job to welcome you to our 22nd annual award ceremony, also known as Comics Biggest Night, Canadian Edition. Sorry. Before we get started, I know what you're all thinking, so I want to clear the air. You're probably thinking right now, because I get this every year, is people come up and say, Brad, you've been doing this for 22 years, and you haven't aged a day. Why is everybody laughing? How does that magnificent bastard maintain such a youthful and vivacious appearance? I want to tell you all now how I do it. The secret is comics. For the past 2 decades, I've been reading a comic every day without fail, and I believe this has helped me maintain my ageless complexion, my sharp mind, and my trademark sparkling wit. And that comic is Venom #1. I was going to say Palookaville, but I figured that was funnier. Yeah. It was great to see so many famous Canadian cartoonists in the crowd, and a few token American ones as well. What I love about the Wright Awards is that it provides space for Canada's comics community to gather in one place and celebrate the past year. So of course we have Seth and Tanya in the front row looking lovely. Tanya looking great as usual. Dustin Harbin is milling around somewhere.
I'm here.
Ken and Joan Stacy are here. Joan, who actually sat in on the jury for the Nipper Award, I believe, so that's great that they're here. Chester Brown is supposed to be here. He's here. And we're really happy to have 2 members of the Doug Wright family, Doug Wright's family, Ken and Kim Wright, are down in the front. Thanks for coming. Seth, my friend, I want to thank you for being with, you're very busy. You came here tonight. I know you live a very busy life, so I appreciate you taking time away from flipping through your copy of the 1972 Sears catalog to make yourself available. Also, I picked up, I don't know if you guys saw this, the beguiling table, I picked up your new book, just called Seth Femera, which collects your thoughts over the years and essays about comics. Based on the size of it, I'm assuming it's abridged, right? And of course, thank you. And of course, Ehab is here, Ehab Arafa. You may not know this, but Ehab has been with us every year since we've founded the Wright Awards. He is our stalwart volunteer since 2005, I believe. Many left, never to return. Ehab stayed. And to mark that last year's ceremony, if you were here, you remember we gifted, as a nod to this, we gifted him a blue Doug Wright's blazer, which he's wearing. The loudmouth Dustin Harbin, as he said before, we actually gifted him a vest as well, out of sympathy. It's a miniature jacket as a host. Well, I was really happy to hear that Ehab's winning streak has continued because I heard that he is engaged. Last night he told us that he's engaged to be married. Is that correct? So congratulations to the lucky lady, but unfortunately Seth and I were talking just before the show, and according to the legally binding blazer contract that Seth made you sign right after the show, your jacket, and I'm reading this right from the fine print, could only be worn by loveless bachelors. So sadly, you'll have to surrender it at the end of the evening. I'm sorry. Dustin, don't worry, your vest is safe. I want to direct your attention to stage left, right? Stage right, where we have, these are folks who've been helping us every year for many years. Michael Thorner, who's our accompanist. Do I call you an accompanist? I didn't know this till a couple of days ago, but in addition to his abilities at the keys, he's actually an artist. Is that correct, Michael?
Yes.
So, if I understand correctly, it turns out when Mark and Emily, who wrote the Mighty Might strip, they're being inducted into the Giants in the Earth Hall of Fame tonight, when it stopped in the 90s, you actually threw your hat in the ring as a replacement. Is that true?
Yeah, I did work for Owl, freelance, and I did take a stab at it. They were looking for, a fresh look, and I gave it a shot. It was fun. Owl was fun to work with.
Is it true you also drew Seth into the strip? Is that?
It's not the same Seth.
Oh, okay, good.
But one day I will draw Seth.
Okay, good. And Conan. I need to speak about Conan, our illustrious executive director. Give it up for Conan. He is also wearing, I think it's a bootleg Doug Wright Award jacket, actually.
I'm wearing the new on-brand version of the Doug Wright
Doesn't
jacket.
seem right. Not the right color. Anyways, I'm sure all of you guys know Conan best as the head honcho of the Doug Wright Awards, but I've known him much longer, going back probably 20 years. I know him best as being the owner of the second largest Dark Shadows collection in Canada. So ask him about that later.
Second.
Second. He's biding his time until the #1 collector dies, and then he can go to prison.
That's how I became second.
And as you can imagine, for anybody under 50, I could explain Dark Shadows later. It's fine. As you can imagine, Conan and I are in pretty steady contact in the months leading up to the awards. We text a lot, and I actually think he's one of the funniest texters I know. I mean that genuinely. I'm just going to flip through some of my here to read some texts. Most of them are about Miami Vice. He's binge watching Miami Vice. He's a lightweight. He's only on season 2. I'm on season 4. But there are some here. Here's one, actually. The gum in the first 2 Gong Show packs I opened is so old, it stuck to the stickers, which made the stickers stick to the top card. I might get a full set of cards still, but stickers could be a bust. No more 50-year-old packs with gums. Lesson learned. That's everything else is about Gong Show. So, sorry, folks. That's all I can find. And Bob Sikoriak is over here. So Bob, do I call you, I mean, you're an artist and a cartoonist. Tonight, are you a graphic recorder? What would I call you? He's our graphic recorder after taking a year off last year to work on his new book. He's back. Bob, as many of you will know, is a celebrated artist and cartoonist who kind of got his start with Raw Magazine in the 80s after meeting Art Spiegelman, right? And then has had many, many books published by Montreal's Drawn and Quarterly, and this year he is launching a new book. Why don't you tell us about your book, really? And it is a flip book that tells, right, the story of the... but told with like comic strip characters and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. I had a sneak peek of it last year when I paid a visit to Bob in New York, and I strongly urge everyone to buy a copy. Conan also wanted me to stress that it can never win a Wright Award, so I'm sorry. And I forgot to say, in support of the Doug Wright Awards, you can buy one of his drawings at the end of the evening. So keep an eye on it. Ho Che will be checking in with them. I believe we're going to charge them 20 Canadian dollars. People, 20 Canadian dollars.
Which I think for a Bob original is quite the bargain.
Yeah, it's a total bargain. So I
He's a
urge you to do
legend.
that. He is a legend. Thank you, Bob. I also just saw Michael DeForge out front, Ottawa's own Michael DeForge, who will be presenting Best Book tonight. Give it up for Michael DeForge. Fun Doug Wright Award fact, Michael is the first and only person to score what I call the DWA trifecta, which he has won the Best Book Award, the Pigskin Peter Award, and the Nipper Award. It's impressive. And in fact, the only reason Conan created a Kids Comic Award was to give Michael something to yearn for. Because he's so unproductive, as everybody knows. All right, enough with the guffaws. Let's get on with the show. I want to thank everyone who makes these awards possible: cartoonists, publishers, distributors, bookstores, comic shops, and of course the readers. I want to specifically thank Eileen Kwan, who made our new banner, which is made out of... made out of felt and handmade, I believe. So it's awesome. Take a look later. The 20 nominations this year represent a diverse and eclectic survey of the state of Canadian comics right now. I would encourage you to seek all of them out, regardless of who wins. And what are the Doug Wright Awards? The Doug Wright Awards are a non-profit foundation committed to supporting and celebrating the best in Canadian comics. The primary way we do this is through our awards ceremony, which is usually aligned with TCAF. And our mission is to bring attention to Canadian comics and the people who make them. To date, we've handed out 70 Wright Awards trophies to an all-star lineup of the country's best cartoonists, which include Kate Beaton, Seth himself, Julia Tamaki, Michael, Joe Ullman, Rico Tamaki, Mark Bell, David Collier, Hartley Lynn, Jesse Jacobs, Fiona Smythe, and Maurice Fellacoop, who is right there. Each year we hand out trophies in 4 categories: the best book, the Nipper, the Pigskin Peters Award, and the Egghead. And in addition, this year we are adding a 5th, but we'll get to that later. That's called a tease. To be considered, a book must have been published in the previous calendar year. This year we received 200 entries from dozens of publishers and self-published cartoonists. Each category is judged by a diverse 3-member jury made up of cartoonists, industry experts, and those with a deep knowledge and appreciation of the medium. Books are judged on quality of illustration, writing, and production. In addition to our awards categories, we also take time every year to honor Canadian comics history by inducting a cartoonist or cartoonists into our Hall of Fame, which is also called the Giants of the North. This year's Giants of the North inductees are ironically known for characters that are very tiny. Emily Hearn and Mark Thurman, the co-creators of the Mighty Mites, which appeared for many years in Owl magazine. I read them when I was a kid. There's some original art in a cistern in the bar. I urge you to check it out. And as most of you are obviously aware, the Wright Awards take the name from master cartoonist Doug Wright, of which I've written a couple of books about and worked on with Seth, whose comic strip Nipper, aka Doug Wright's Family, dominated Canadian newspapers and magazines in the mid-20th century. A true exemplar of 20th century cartooning, Wright was a workhorse at one point, writing and drawing 5 weekly features completely on his own without assistance, and raising a family of 3. If you're interested in exploring his work further, please go to the Doug Wright Awards table at the back and grab a copy of The Collected Doug Wright. It's great. I'm not just saying that because I co-edited it. We are lucky tonight to have Ken Wright, Doug's son, in attendance tonight, and he'll speak a bit later. Before I wrap up, Conan wants me to remind you that the Wright Awards has a table at TCAF, but he ignored my text. What is the booth number? On the 3rd floor. Sure, either one. Where you can buy all this year's nominated books, as well as Wright Award t-shirts, bags, and buttons. As a reminder, the club will be open after the show. Jade, our bartender, is on hand for all your drinking needs. Now I am thrilled to hand the reins to your host for the 22nd Annual Doug Wright Awards, a celebrated cartoonist, an artist, and filmmaker, and a man who is giving Seth a run for his money as the best-dressed man in comics, Ho Che Anderson. You got your own?
All right. Thanks, Brad.
No problem.
Wow, it's a lot different up here when you've got all these faces staring back at you. It's like a combination of power and fears rushing through me at this particular moment. Yes, my name is Ho Che Anderson. I'm a local cartoonist. Let me say that again. Ho Che Anderson. That is my name. It's not a fake name. That is my actual name. My father was the ultimate lefty and named me after Ho Chi Minh and Che Guevara. And I come to you in this package. So the reason I'm standing up here today is my love of comics, going back to when I was a little kid. One of my earliest memories is, well, my comics career kind of started around the time when I was 14. I picked up an issue of Mr. X, illustrated, not quite by Seth at that point, but pretty soon. Picked it up and I realized that it was actually published in Toronto, which blew my mind because comics only came from the United States. So I took my little ass from Scarborough to downtown Toronto, and I went to the offices, and no one was there. I came back about a year later, a little bit better, to their offices now on Sumac Street. I was 16 years old, just a couple of years later. And one of the first people I saw as I was walking up those steps was Seth, who became kind of my punk rock cartooning god for a little while. I was so impressed with his look and with his whole persona. I also met Chester Brown at that point, who intimidated the shit out of me, continues to do so. And then the next memory is that summer going to Detroit. I'm sure you remember this. With Bill Marks, me, Chester, Seth. I'm the same height at 16 as I am now, so I'm packed into the back of Bill Marks' sports car with my legs up like this for 6 hours to Detroit, having to pee about every hour or so. I had a bladder thing at that point. I'm giving you too much information. Anyway, that has kind of led us to this moment. That love of comics has never really gone away. Became a professional of sorts. And here I am now. So I have to thank Doug, Conan, Seth, Chester, if you're out there somewhere, for being part of the mix that led us here tonight. One of the things that I loved about spending time with Vortex Comics was the education that they gave me. They taught me about Art Deco. They taught me new forms of storytelling and cartooning that I had not appreciated up until then. I learned about European storytelling. And Seth really took me under his wing. He taught me about Alex Toth, and I think you were a big John Byrne fan back at that era. Yeah, let's not try to walk it back now. It's still a little bit too late. So I really have to thank you for the education that you were a part of. So that kind of leads us to today. The one thing that I didn't learn, though, from Bill Marks and Seth and the whole crew at Vortex Comics was about Doug Wright, who I've only, I'm ashamed to say, come to appreciate over the last couple of months or so. An amazing cartoonist, a true blind spot in my comics education, but something I'm definitely going to be making up for in the coming years. Anyway, so let's get to the scripted portion of our show. I cannot read with my glasses on, so I'm going to take these puppies off. If you win tonight, please come to the stage, give your speech, then Seth will present you with your trophy. He's not going to prevent it. He's going to present it. He might hijack the stage a little bit, but well, there you go. He will present you with your trophy on the floor in front of the stage as you return to your seat, and your photo will also be taken as you're handed your trophy. Our first award tonight is the Egghead, the Doug Wright Award for Best Kids Book, which recognizes the year's best book aimed at young readers. The award takes its name from Doug Wright's original unused name for his signature character, Nipper, which I have yet to learn about. The winner of the Egghead receives a trophy and a small cash prize. And what are we talking about, small? No comment. Here to present the 2026 Egghead Awards is the writer, artist, television producer Jay Ojic, my new buddy, creator of the children's graphic novel series Kaboom, which we will be talking about tomorrow. Very excited. And last year's host of the Doug Wright Awards. Jay, take it away.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Conan, I don't know if you can see this, for printing my script on extra big font because I'm getting old and I can't read anymore. Last year, I think with my script, we had to do it 3 times. I was like, can we go bigger? Can we go bigger? So before we do anything else, thank you for having me here. Congratulations to all the nominees. So without any further ado, the nominees for the 2026 Egghead Award are Way Off Track by Carl Brundtland and Claudia Davila, published by KidScan Press. Howler Reef by Mike Dees and Nancy Dees. Published by Orca Book Publishers. Fantastic Loot by Chin Lang, published by Tundra. Paisley and Peck, Jurassic Farm by Jay Torres and Mike Dees, published by Owl Kids. My Sister the Werebeast by Alina Taiso, published by First Second. Again, congratulations to all our nominees, and the winner is, I hope you printed this on big font too. I'd feel horrible if I screwed it up. And the winner is Howler Reef by Mike Dees and Nancy Dees, published. Published by Orca Book Publishers. So if we could have Mike and Nancy come on up to receive their award, please.
Anybody here from Orca Books tonight?
Not present?
I guess not. We will get them their trophy soon.
I can accept on their behalf. They look amazing. I'll take one.
This would be a good one for Seth to prevent. This would be a good one.
So now I'm going to fight Seth. I'll be right back. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your night.
Hey, folks. Congratulations to the winner. Sorry, old man. Please welcome to the stage Kona Tobias, the executive director of the Doug Wright Awards. The very elegantly dressed, the very salmon colored.
Thanks. This is going to be quick. Another winner who's not here. Every year we induct 1 or 2 new members into the Giants of the North, our Hall of Fame. And this year I had the genius idea, since we're inducting the Mighty Mites from Al Magazine, which are tiny characters that we would induct, an older Canadian cartoonist who also had tiny characters. And Archdale was a newspaper editorial cartoonist, but he also had a series of characters called the Doodads. I think we have a picture of the Doodads there on the next slide. And then, there they are. Those are the Doodads. Terry Mosher, the editorial cartoonist known as Aislinn, was going to be here tonight to induct Archdale, and he had a family emergency. Everyone's fine, not a big deal, but he couldn't make it in. And in talking to him about it, he's the perfect guy to do this induction. So we're officially inducting Arch tonight because his medal's already engraved. But Terry will be here next year to give the induction talk, and it's going to be really good. So if you love the Doodads, as I know we all do, come back next year, and Terry will be here to give the talk. And I should just want to mention, too, we tried really hard to find any living relative of Archdale and could not do it. So we're going to hang on to his medal until we find a proper place for it. But come back next year for Terry.
All right, we're racing through it here, folks. Okay, Our second award this evening is the Pigskin Peters, the Doug Wright Award for Best Small or Micro Press Book. This award, given to a book not published by a major press, is named for a popular character in the comic strip Birdseye Center, also known as Juniper Junction, which is absolutely gorgeous, drawn by Doug Wright from 1948 to 1968. The winner of the Pigskin Peters receives a black bowler hat, elegantly displayed right there, similar to the one worn by the award's namesake, and a small, again with a small cash prize. Guys, put some money into this thing. Here to present the 2026 Pigskin Peters Award, please welcome the great Mark Asquith, my old friend, in a career that has included roles such as producer, writer, and interviewer. Mark co-created the much-loved, beloved by me, sci-fi and comics-centric TVO show, Prisoners of Gravity. Please tell me some folks, yes. Yes. And for several years, Mark also managed the Silver Snail, which I think a lot of us are pretty familiar with. Mark, get your ass on up here, man.
It's my great honor to be here tonight to present the 2026 Pigskin Peters Award. Why? Because this year marks several wonderful anniversaries and pivotal moments in comics. I'm Mark Asquith, and 50 years ago, the Silver Snail, which I managed for 5 years, celebrates its golden anniversary. This year also marks the 65th anniversary of the Fantastic Four, the 50th anniversary of Black Panther, and it is also the 40th anniversary of what I think is the greatest year in comics. Watchmen, The Dark Knight Returns, Maus, Elektra, Batman Year One, and the first issue of Chester Brown's Yummy Fur. "35 years ago saw the first issue of Jeff Smith's Bone, and he came here to TCAF, and of course, the first issue of Seth's Palookaville. So without further, oh yeah, come on, get him some love. So I've become very aware of the passage of time. Anyway, the nominees for the 2026 Pigskin Peters Award are Life After Life by Joshua Barkman, self-published, Soft Serve and Nosferatu by Matthew Daly, also self-published, and I think there should be a special award for anybody who does a self-published comic. It's double the work. Old Souls by Jack Arris. Published by Cloudscape Comics Society. Mobile Gang Fortress by Alexander Laird. Published by Frog Farm. Pass Me By, Lily by Kat Simmers and Ryan Danny Owen. Published by Renegade Arts Entertainment. And the award goes to, this is very fancy, I have to say. Someone's a designer on this team. The Doug Wright Award winner is Pigskin Peters is Pass Me By, Lily by Kat Simmers and Ryan Danny O'Neill.
Alrighty, hello everybody. My name is Alexander Fimbo. I am Kat and Ryan's publisher at Renegade. I had a chat with Kat and Ryan earlier in the week, and they were like, I don't think we're going to win, so we don't need to do a speech. And I said, you should do a speech just in case you do win. So they sent me one a few hours ago, and I have it here in front of me. And I hope that Kat and Ryan are watching the YouTube stream. And I'm going to read the speech now. Okay, so imagine this is Kat and Ryan saying this now. Thank you, thank you. We are both immensely grateful for this honor and for the support we have received over the nearly 10 years of making the Pass Me By series. Since we started in 2017, the series has grown in directions neither of us could have expected, and it is only because of our incredible, beautiful, and resilient community that we've made it this far. Writing Lily taught us both so much about ourselves, and it showed to us once again the power of stories to bring us all together. It's humbling and inspiring to know that there is resonance to this story about dementia, loss, family, and identity. We've all had to face the realities of disease, faced forbidden loves, and found family in impossible places. And through Ed, we can show how our stories carry through those we love. However, the context of this book cannot be ignored. We live, work, and create from the epicenter of the anti-trans movement in Canada. When we wrote Lily, trans youth in Alberta were able to receive life-saving, gender-affirming care. Children could use nicknames at school without parental consent, and girls could play sports without a form testifying to their gender at birth. We regret to inform you that thanks to Bills 27, 28, and 29, that is no longer the case. As more books are banned from the shelves of schools in Alberta, stories like Pass Me By Lily feel critical and important reminders to our 2S LGBTQIA+ community. And beyond that, our stories matter, and to never stop making work that challenges people to see new perspectives. Thank you so much to our publisher, Alexander Fimbo, for supporting us and guiding us through creating this project. And thank you to Canada Council for the Arts, Alberta Foundation for the Arts, and Calgary Arts Development for giving us the opportunity to focus our time on producing this project. Lastly, we both want to thank our families and community for the support in bringing this project to life. And of course, we want to thank our cats. With love, as always, Kat and Ryan. And I just want to say thank you to Conan, to everybody at the Doug Wright Awards for having a National Comics Award. Like, I don't understand why it's not more prominent. Like, it's a celebration of one of the most important cultural entities we have in the country, and I just want more people to know about it. So please tell everybody, don't be shy, and spread the word about this important awards night. Thank you.
I just want to thank the very dapper and refined Seth for totally fucking that up. That was a beautiful
It's
thing
only
to
his
witness,
22nd time here.
and I appreciate it.
He was preventing again.
Okay, our next award is the Nipper, the Doug Wright Award for Emerging Talent, sponsored by Koyama, I'm so sorry, Provides, and the Valley View Artist Retreat. This award, given to an author or team early in their career and deserving of wider recognition, is named in honor of Doug Wright's signature character. The winner of the Nipper receives a trophy, again with a small cash prize, and a week at the Valley View Artist Retreat, which they'll probably have to pay for themselves, in Caledon, Ontario.
Well, there's one sponsor lost.
Here to
Thanks.
present the 2026 Nipper Award is Michael DeForge, who, for the record, has turned me down not once but twice for panels I've asked him to be on. Not that I'm taking it personally. Who not only won the Nipper in 2010, but has also won the Pigskin Peters and Best Book Awards, and is one of this year's Best Book nominees for Holy Lacrimony. Michael, are you in the house? Yes, you are.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, both because, I won Best Emerging sometime between like 15 and 1,000 years ago here, but also it's a pleasure to be here because I once applied for a job as a dishwasher here, and I got the job, and then like 2 days later, an hour before my shift, I got a call, and they said I don't have the job and to not come into work. So this is the second time I've been in this building since then. The nominees for the 2026 Nipper Award are Molly Cronin for The Future is Fat, Future Me is Fat, published by Conundrum Press. Jordana Globerman for Soul Machine, published by Anik Press. Stefano Jeune for Modern Asian Family, straight out of Busan, published by Renegade Arts Entertainment. Alex Swift for The Connoisseurs, published by Frog Farm. And Lise Zhu for Layover. Lise Zhu for, there we go, for Layover and Mad, which are both self-published, and Raccoon Rescue, published by Gita Press. And the winner is Lise. Lise Zhu.
Wow, thank you so much. I would like to thank a couple of people. I'd like to thank Archie Sargent, who is the editor and founder of Gita Press, without whose support I wouldn't have made a lot of comics in the last few years. I'd also like to thank Zainab for putting on Shortbox. Every year, I made Layover for Shortbox, and it was a great opportunity to create a comic that I felt that I had time to make, and really dedicate myself to like a story that that was very personal to me. And yes, and I'd love to thank the Doug Wright Awards. Thank you for doing this and like highlighting Canadian comics and Canadian creators. Just like super nice to be a part of the awards this year. And I've been nominated previously, but it's like just a great honor. Thank you very much. And I would also like to thank my partner, Andrew, for being there and supporting me and telling me that it's okay that I didn't work today, but tomorrow I should probably give myself space to work. All right, thank you.
Fucking things up. Congratulations to Lise. Again with the glasses. Each year, the Doug Wright Awards inducts new members into the Giants of the North, the Canadian Cartooning Hall of Fame. Tonight, we're inducting Mark Thurman and the late Emily Hearn, who, among the many accomplishments of their respective careers, together created the Mighty Mites, which, yes. Absolutely. I still remember one where they went into like inside of like a wall or something like that, or another one where they were in like the shag of a carpet. I used to love the Mighty Mites when I was a kid. A regular comic feature in the children's magazine Owl for 25 years, and that debuted 50 years ago this year. Annabelle Slight, Owl's co-founder and original publisher, very much wanted to be here tonight to induct Mark and Emily. She wasn't able to join us, but she sent the following video.
What? Okay. You need me up? Do you need me? You need it? Okay, hang on. Hang on a bit. Mike, keep playing. We'll just be a second.
Well, Emily heard. Well,
Sorry, everybody. We're just having a quick audio problem, and it's going to be fixed really soon, but we really want to play this video. Seth has trivia, I think.
Okay, we're going to do some comic strip trivia here.
All right.
The winner gets a small cash prize. Okay. Oh, is it over here? Okay. I'm trying to do everything wrong tonight. Okay. So let's find a good one here. Boy, these are awful. Hang on. Boy, these are bad. No, this is really worse than I thought. Hang on. Okay. Instead of having its title character travel to other periods in history, like that other classic caveman strip, this one eventually incorporates references to modern times in its Stone Age setting. God, this is tough. One of its characters invented the wheel and the comb. Who was it? BC. Who said it? Oh, jeez. They're his cards. Okay. Boy, there's more cards that more about comic strips that are cavemen. So hang on a second here. Boy, these are awful. Who was the tubby tour guide who introduced Americans to Mexican culture aboard his bus, El Comito Haley? Yes, who said it? Okay, there's one. Oh, this is a toughie. If he's not home with Flo, his long-suffering, neglected missus. Come on. Do I even have to finish this? Yeah. Okay, thank you. I can't do this. No, this is too awful. I thought this would be a guaranteed laugh fest. This is not. Yeah. Conan?
I beg to differ. I think Derek might be ready.
Are we ready?
Derek can shout out if he's... Derek, are you ready? Audio and video?
Coming. Oh. I think I'm free.
Do one more, Seth. Do.
Okay. In 1921, Walt, then a confirmed bachelor, found a baby on the doorstep. Who is it? What? No. Did you say it? Oh, yeah, Gasoline Alley. Yeah, okay. Okay. You guys can fight it out later. Conan?
Derek?
This reminds you why comics are
What's that?
terrible.
Okay.
This is not a celebration
They're
of
working on it.
comics.
So we were talking about this last night. Would people come to a fundraiser if we had Seth do a trivia night with these
Yeah.
cards?
Yeah.
With these, no?
Actually, I'm going to just talk.
Would Seth come if
Yeah.
we did it?
I was just going to say it was very nice what Ho said about me, and I really appreciated that. And I wanted to say that, this was one of the wonderful things about Canadian comics is that this was a very small community. And that, you could talk to any cartoonist from just about any generation in this, in this room here, and they will talk to you about people that they've had like a meaningful experience about how they came into the world of comics and how they were welcomed. I remember, of course, meeting Ho. He was great, a very angry young 16-year-old who was great to take along on that trip. And that was also the same trip where I really got to know Chester Brown really well for the first time, actually. But when I came into comics, one of the people who was really important to me was Ken Stacy, who's here tonight, because but I did not call for him to be machine gunned. No. Now, I arrived at Vortex Comics just like Ho was talking about. I showed up to show some really awful early comics I did, and Ken was the editor of Vortex magazine then. And what was great about it was, I can't really remember what Ken said about the comics. I'm sure he was encouraging, but he didn't buy any. But what he did was he took me out the door and took me down to the Silver Snail, which we were talking about with Mark. Yeah. He told me to buy Love and Rockets #3. And that was like a life-changing event in my life. Because that really, before that, I was, interested in kind of doing something with comics, but it was like seeing that comic book at that point, to have somebody point out to me, here is something, an actual example of this sort of vague idea you have in the back of your mind. That was a super important thing to me. And I'm sure that everybody in this audience right now can think of somebody who had that potent experience that brought them in or encouraged them or, gave them that foot up. And so I feel like I'm about to give a Hallmark thing or something. Let's give a hand to all those people who helped us. Yeah. Am I filling more time?
I'll never make fun of you talking too much again.
I think we should move on.
Well, Emily Hearn.
Oh, we're good. Thank you, sir.
While Emily Hearn and Mark Thurman had most impressive careers, we did not choose them as the co-creators of the Mighty Mites because of that. We chose them because of what they believed the Mighty Mites could be, and how they would go about earning the trust of kids for an amazing 15 years. Emily brought a poet's precision and a scientist's curiosity to every strip. She never talked down, and she never flinched from the risk that made every story riveting. Over the years, she quietly made the Mighty Mites a bit less geeky, more grounded, and we did let that magic potion that was described in the first issue go. So goodbye, Alice in Wonderland. Hello, real science. Emily died in 2015 at the age of 90, still sharp, warm, and full of ideas, I hear. It is exactly right that she is being honored here tonight. Now, Mark, I would like to speak to you directly. Working with you was one of the great joys of OWL. We laughed so much. And to think you made this 4-page comic strip sing with just a black pen and white paper. No color, because the budget demanded this approach. And then, when we later took a hard look, we realized that color would only get in the way. And although we did use color for your book, The Mighty Mites in Dinosaur Land, I am not sure that it actually made it much better. The Mighty Mites were good in themselves, the relationship between the characters and the worlds they explored from such a unique perspective. Your close-ups made children feel the texture of a leaf, the eye of an insect, the geometry of a spider's web. They were not watching from a distance, they were in there. At OWL, we often said, "Ain't nature grand?" Your work made children feel that in their bones. I have since heard from scientists, naturalists, and educators who say they would not have had the career they had, careers rooted in the natural world, if they had not grown up with OWL. And they so often mentioned the Mighty Mites specifically. That was generation, actually, more than a generation, generations shaped. OWL turned 50 this year. Emily and Mark were there from the very first issue. They belong in the Canadian Cartooning Hall of Fame, without question. Sophie and Mark, wherever you are, the Mighty Mites were named for you. We will never forget that, or your mom, who I know would join me in huge congratulations for Mark and Emily too. Thank you both from deep in our hearts.
What are we doing here? I am welcoming Mark Thurman and Sam Hayter to the stage, if they would, please.
Come on up, Sam. Yeah, you go first.
So, I'm not checking the hockey score, by the way. So, my mom, Emily, knew her by lots of different names. Emily Hearn Velo. She, as Annabelle said, had quite a career. I remember very, very clearly in 2 different houses not being able to use the dining room table, the kitchen table, the study, because the way they got all the information was to go to the local library. And these days we can just do this and get everything we need. So I really felt sorry for all those kids who had a science project that particular week and were trying to find whether it was, yeah, exactly, dinosaurs or any sort of mammal, animal, and they couldn't find the books because Mark and Emily had them at the house. Emily also had, as mentioned, quite a career. Some of you may know she wrote Polka Dot Door. She also wrote a Franny, and Mark illustrated that as well. And I know there's some of them there. Franny was revolutionary because Franny came out, I think, in the early 80s, you'll correct me, and Franny was in a wheelchair. And it was one of the first, if not the first, where persons with disabilities were shown, and shown with dignity, respect, and all the things that I think we take for granted today, and I know a lot of people would say we don't, we're still way behind. On that note, I want to wish everybody the month of June happy Pride, anybody celebrating Indigenous Month, and also Saint Jean de Baptiste Day on the 24th of June. And yes, I'm a director of HR. How did you guess? All of those are very deep for me. I think in closing, I truly feel this. Mark and I go in and out of our lives every once in a while. When Mark and Emily were first together, Mark was an amazing tennis player, and he tried to give me tennis lessons. He was fantastic. I sucked. So just so you know, it was nothing to do with you. It was all me. But Mighty Mites wouldn't be what it was without Mark. And I truly feel that. I think stories, although words may resonate accordingly, it is the graphic that all catches us, and it takes us to a different place. And I thought it was so touching that Annabelle mentioned the black and white, because it is just so true. It didn't need the color and everything. The stories just came out the way they were. I'd like to thank Conan and Brad and the Arts and Letters Club, the family members from Doug Wright's family, and everybody involved. It truly is an honor for Emily and our family. Karen, my sister, is here, and Rob. They were the creators of Big Comfy Couch. Yes, they're going to keep. Yeah. And other family members in the field as well. My brother Tim unfortunately passed in 1995. Tim was an animator. He had made a film just before that, David Copperfield. Remember those things that came in a box and you popped them into a machine? I think it was VHS or something like that. Yeah, yeah, he had one of those. So again, Mark, congratulations. I'm glad you're here to accept it. I got a little scared when I saw the nameplates and saw what I thought was Emily Hearn. I thought, this is going to be amazing. How are they going to get my mom here today? Hearn family, thank you.
I'm not going to say much because Sam said a lot, okay? Just thanks to Conan and everybody for giving Emily and I this honor. It's a great honor. And I teach at Sheridan College in the animation program right now. I have for 24 years. And a few of the animators there said, that's a fantastic award. Like, give me a break. Okay, so anyway, that's that. Working with Emily, we actually met in 1975, and Owl magazine started in 1976. I had a show of some animal drawings and paintings, and she remembered that and got in touch with me when Owl got in touch with her about did she have someone to do illustrations. So, and it was a great thing because from her I learned about pacing, timing, a whole bunch of things to do with story that I really didn't know, right? I brought a good visual sense, and how we did the comics was interesting because we didn't write it. We sat down at a table, and we did all our research. Research was huge. There was no digital age, right? And so we both had great libraries as well, which I still have. And anyway, we'd sit down and just talk the story through. And as we did that, I drew little drawings on a little pad of paper and threw them on the table. So that was a storyboard happening, that we didn't know that. And then sometimes halfway through the story, she'd say, I'm going to go play the piano. She'd be over there playing the piano, and we'd talk the story through as she was playing the piano. So it was a very interesting way for a comic to happen. So I think a little bit unusual. And from my knowledge, there's no other comic that's ever been done of a scientific comic, 154 episodes over 15 years. And the science was very important. Owl magazine exists today, and it's a wonderful magazine, but it's totally different because children today are very, very different than the children we worked for. I know it's a line of Owl people there. I saw the magazine at first, I thought, way too busy and stuff, but then I realized what they were doing okay? And so I think it's a really good magazine. I mean, it's a shout out to Owl. But the Mighty Mites, as people took it over, and I think someone over here did some of them, was never the Mighty Mites that we did. And there's one reason why, is because Emily and I loved what we did, and the other people brought skill. They weren't bringing love. We loved science and nature, researching it, exploring it, and creating comics from it. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Right. Can we get a little love for Owl Magazine? Yes. Can we get a little bit more love for the Mighty Mites? No love for the Mighty Mites? Nothing? Oh, feel the love, man. Let me welcome to the stage the founders of the Doug Wright Awards, Brad McKay and the Mighty Seth.
Don't worry, there's no more trivia. Okay, so this year, we're doing something different, something new. We're introducing a new award. Now, let me just start off by saying that for the most part, we've resisted adding new awards to the Doug Wright Awards because we don't want it to be like where you have, 25 awards. And, we want to keep it quite streamlined. So, and that's always been the plan since the very beginning. And we started with 2 awards originally, just the Best Book Award and the Emerging Talent Award. And we also had, that first year was the first year that we had the Giants of the North, the Hall of Fame. Later on, we added the Pigskin Peters Award, and that was to give the small press and less narrative works out there some kind of recognition. Because each year, as we worked on it, we kind of realized that, there were certain elements of the field that, we're not going to be in the other categories. So over time, the Emerging Talent Award was retitled the Nipper. And then later we added the Egghead to salute comics adjacent, I suppose, children's book. And that seemed like plenty. At that point, I think we were pretty much like, we're not going to be adding anything else to it. But even with these 4 awards and the Hall of Fame, we couldn't help but notice that every once in a while something came up that didn't totally fit into the categories, and we still felt deserved some kind of recognition. So reluctantly, we shoehorned in another award. This one is not necessarily going to be given out every year, though. It will really be depend entirely on circumstance, on what shows up unexpectedly or what we think has been ignored. But after that came up, we thought, well, what are we going to name it? We'd pretty much used all of Doug's characters. And I mean, to be honest, there was not even really a moment of discussion about it because Phyllis, Doug's widow, had just died the year before. And so it was pretty much a given. I don't even think we even discussed it much, that it would be simply named the Phyllis Wright Thomas Award in honor of Phyllis. So Brad, would you like to say a couple of words about Phyllis?
Yeah, sure. I think it's worth saying that, the award is kind of meant for something that doesn't fit into the other categories. And I think there's a lot of people who are not creators, or publishers, but that make a contribution, obviously. And Phyllis, I think, actually is an exemplar of that. You know, she was not a creator or publisher, but her efforts, as Seth can speak to, her efforts to preserve Doug's archives over the years were invaluable in the creation and publication of the 2 books that we worked on. And she shepherded Doug's legacy, really. And I can't imagine those books even existing without her contribution. She was also like our connection to him. He had died in the early 80s. We didn't ever get a chance to meet him. We never met Doug Wright. We never met Doug Wright, but we felt that we knew him through her. She kept his diaries, like everything, you know. So as a writer, that was like super, super important, that connection to him. So yeah, I think in the spirit of that, I think that's why we should name this award after Phyllis. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Oh, and I want to, this was just my little. This is the official Doug Wright Awards traveling bar. And we just wanted to raise a toast to Phyllis. So here's to Phyllis.
To Phyllis Wright Thomas.
Very nice. And before we hand out that award, we would like to welcome Ken Wright to the stage to say a few words on behalf of the family.
Gin and tonic, right? That was my mom's favorite.
Close.
I'm here with my daughter, Kim, who is Doug's granddaughter. Unfortunately, they never got to meet. I'm sure they would get along spectacular with the two of them. Kim's kind of the one that took her grandpa's talent for drawing. There was a mention of Sheridan College. Kim went to the UX design course at Sheridan College and has a very successful career now in UX design, and I kind of relate that to the comics, but on a computer. I do want to thank, on behalf of Doug Wright's real family, all of the talented nominees and the winners of all the categories. Particularly, we had a little teaser that this one was coming up, so particularly whoever gets honored and recognized by the award named after my mom. And I know she did work hard to give Brad, Seth, and Conan anything they needed to make this work. And clearly, 20 some odd years, it works. And I also need to thank these 3 guys, Brad, Seth, and Conan, for keeping my dad's name just out there and alive. But particularly this award. My mother would be tickled pink. She'd probably have all that gin and tonic consumed by now. But thank you very much, you guys, for your efforts on this. And again, congratulations to the winners.
I believe we're supposed to welcome Brian McLaughlin up to the stage.
So I'm here to present the award, talk a little bit about OWL, because we're going to give an award for OWL's 50 years of making comics. So I have a slideshow. So I have a slideshow you're all going to have to sit through. I'm sorry. Next slide. It was the 1970s. A time of curling irons and mustaches. Next slide. Puppets and dune buggies. Next slide. Comic art was... No? The next... Yeah, that one. That one's good. Okay. Comic art is everywhere. From ice cream parlors to professional sports teams. Magazines are no exception. Next slide. In waiting rooms across the country, you could pick up almost any magazine and rifle through and find a comic. So it made sense that comics were a part of the format when in 1978, naturalists Annabelle Slate and Marianne Brinkman founded OWL magazine. OWL isn't just a wise bird. It's short for Outdoor Wildlife. The magazine centered the natural environment. Alongside puzzles, games, and nature photography, comics would draw in middle grade kids. Next slide. Pretty soon, Owl started to publish, their first comic was The Mighty Mites. We all just learned lots about Mark Thurman's excellent work there, alongside Emily Hearn. And we have an early one on the left, and on the right we have the very last Mighty Mites, where it was changed to the M team as they were changing with the times. They're, owls learning to adapt, keep to their core values, but also stay interesting to the children who are reading. Next slide. And pretty soon, Owl started to publish collections of material from magazines, or from their magazine, like joke books, puzzles, and comics. The book department splintered off into Maple Tree Press, and later Owl Kids Publishing would reestablish itself and eventually buy back Maple Tree and fold it back into itself. Today, they don't just collect magazine material, but create their own, with lots of picture books, which I consider to be comics with one panel per page, and a preference for captions over word balloons. Next slide. Owl also quickly added a sibling publication, Chickadee, which aimed a little younger, but had similar content. Next slide. They had a 2-page watercolor comic featuring authentic animal behavior by Elaine McPherson. Next slide. The back page had a 6-panel comic called Henry about a pig facing kids' real-world challenges, like a windy day, or tidying up, or trying to remember a sandwich. Next slide. And in an era where magazines were commonplace, Owl found a niche, a monthly mailbox treat for children, one that their parents and grandparents would be happy to encourage, that the librarians were happy to add to their school's collection. More educational and less gross than Mad, more wholesome than Nickelodeon, and cooler than Highlights. Notice all these examples are American. Canada needed its own magazine for children. Next slide. It was the 1980s, the 1990s, a time of Spice Girls and Boys in the Hood. Next slide. Translucent plastic and cape-flapping rooftop anti-heroes. Next slide. Cable TV added dozens of options for most households, but Owl TV is on regular cable, CBC and later CTV. But this expansion came at a cost, and in 1994, Owl Kids closed shop. But they were bought by Catholic community-based company out of Quebec City, Bayard Press. Bayard, Canada, who are attracted to the wholesome, positive vibes of Owl Kids. Bayard isn't focused on enriching shareholders, but enriching lives. Next slide. Oh, sorry, go back one. You skipped ahead. Okay, there we go. Do any of you remember Disney Adventures magazine? It was a showcase of great comics, but it got canned because although it was profitable, it wasn't profitable enough. Bayard isn't the kind of company, and that's that kind of company, and that's one of the reasons Owl Kids is around today. Next slide. With Bayard bankrolling them in 1997, Owl added Chirp magazine for the youngest readers, which again featured comics. This time the titular Chirp, who would do cozy and fun things with his bird pals. You may have seen it spun off onto a show on CBC. I don't know if any of you have seen that, if any of you have little kids. It's pretty good. Next slide. I've watched a lot with my kids. Over time, Owl Kids broadened its scope from just a science and nature to be more of a general interest magazine that examined pop culture and social issues that affected kids. It wasn't long ago that STEM became this buzzword, and people were using it to sell all sorts of things to kids. And Owl had an internal discussion about, like, should we be STEM focused? And it wasn't long before they realized, no, we need that A in STEAM. We need the arts, because art has always been a part of Owl magazine. The comics have always been a part. It's integral, and it's what brings the children in. It's what keeps them interested in the fascinating science, nature, and sociological facts. Next slide. Over the years, Owl Kids has always maintained a healthy trove of comics. They had the Max Finder Mysteries by Liam O'Donnell and Michael Cho, and later Craig Battle and Ramon Perez. We're going to go like fast-paced through these next ones. So the next slide is Jay Stevens' Arrowhead and Extracurricular. Let's go to the next one. Eric Kim's Sidesteppers and Dinosaurs from Outer Space. Next one. They translated Frederic Antoine and Jean-Francois Vachon's Jimmy Tornado. The next one. There was What a Hoot by Clayton Hamner, and now by Nancy and Mike Diaz. Next one. Claude Bordelot and I Do the Spruce Street Squad comic. The next one. Chickadee Has Chick ND, started by Jay Stevens and now taken over by a guy named Stephen Charles Manelli. Next one. They had Daisy Dreamer by Linda Cooper and later Philip Moscovich and Gabriel Morissette. You can see, like, again, huge difference over the years, styles changing, but Owl's like keeping true to its mission. All right, let's go to the next one. Henry was replaced with a one-page comic that was always had different names and different characters, but they're all by Tina Holdcroft. This was one of my favorites that I was, excited to read on the back of Chickadee magazine. Next one. Translated from French, they published Alexei's Mini John's Experiments. Next one. Philippe Lalonde did Platypus and Chameleon. Next one. Rosanna Fong created the Spectacular 3. And the next one. They've recently added Deanna Kent and Neil Huson's Weevil Geniuses. Next one. And then Chirp has The Vole Brothers by R. Schwartz. They also had two others I don't have images for, Robbie and Emily by Linda Henry and Imagine Mary by Jeffrey Stewart Timmons. Owl people, if you're an Owl cartoonist listening to this, please put more of your stuff online. I have a hard time finding your stuff. Be proud of it. Share it on your socials. Put it in your portfolios. You guys do good work. For many people, Owl is synonymous with science and nature, but, oh boy, does it stand for comics. And the list of comics I just went through doesn't include stuff like this, the irregular ones that appear in the fiction section, or the March Comics issues, or the general cartoon art that they still use and support even though we're not in an era of puppets and dune buggies. They still have changed their art styles a little bit with the times, but they haven't abandoned the core values. Next slide. It's the 1980s, a time of space disco and leathery hip-hop. Next slide. Wild sunglasses and wood panel technology. Next slide. I'm 8 years old with a subscription to Chickadee and my older brother to Owl. Every month I am excited to open the magazines, going first to the comics and jokes. Maybe putting up the animal poster up on my wall if it's something really cool like a tiger and not something terrifying like a tarantula. Every month I send in pieces of art to the magazine, drawing contests that invite children to participate in the publishing process. Next slide. After many silent rejections, I have 3 acceptances. How many of you have gone through this? I went through a lot more with the New Yorker. Where am I? After many silent rejections, I have 3 acceptances. Perfect training for a would-be freelance cartoonist. I have my "You've been published" note framed at my desk at all times. There's still a section where kids can send in their artwork to inspire a new generation of kids towards their artistic goals. Next slide. Owl Kids were the first people to publish me when I was 8, and I feel lucky to be working with them as an adult. One of the best parts of my job is seeing people's eyes light up when I tell them that I make comics for Owl Magazine. They remember it with fondness and wonder, happy to hear it's still going. Curious what it's like now. But don't just wonder, though. Get a subscription for the kid in your life, because we also could use some of that, like small cash prizes I've heard about. Next slide. Oh, yeah, that's the one we're ending on. I came on board just before the 30th birthday, and I have worked with dozens of people at Owl, and I can say that every single one of them has been a joy to work with. They attract and hire committed professionals who make quality books and magazines for kids. Join me in celebrating 50 years of kids' comics with Owl Kids as they receive the inaugural Phyllis Wright Thomas Award. And this award was supposed to be presented to Owl co-founder Annabelle Slate, who we saw the video from her earlier, and she can't be here. So instead, we're going to have, I believe it's Melissa Owens, my editor from Owl Magazine, is going to come up and accept on her behalf. So let's have a round of applause for Melissa and Owl Magazine.
Thank you so much, Brian, and the Doug Wright Awards for this certificate. Comics are such an important part of the magazine and have been since day one in 1976. As Brian mentioned, we've had so many great comics over the years, highlighting some of, yes, height issue over here, highlighting some of Canada's most talented artists and writers like Brian. We're so lucky to work with such amazingly talented comic creators. I know for our young readers, these comics are essentially the bread and butter of the magazines. They serve as an entry point for so many readers, and they are a fan favorite in Owl, Chickadee, and Chirp magazine. Thank you for this certificate, and to all of our comic creators.
I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I need to go home and unpack all my 1970s Owl magazines. I'm feeling kind of inspired tonight. Okay, and now, the evening's final award, the Doug Wright Award for Best Book, sponsored by The Beguiling. This award is given for the best book of any kind published by a Canadian creator or team during the 2025 calendar year. The best book winner receives a trophy and thank you for paying attention. Here to present the 2026 Best Book Award is the artist Maurice Felicoup, one of the best in the business, winner of last year's Best Book Award for his memoir.
Hello, good evening. Winning the Doug Wright Award for Best Book has really been life-changing. Sorry, I'm a bit emotional. The small cash prize allowed me to buy almost a week's groceries, so I'm so grateful to you all. And now, for the winners of the Best Book for 2025, we have Holy Lacrimony by Michael DeForge, published by Drawn and Quarterly. My Bridge by Guy Delisle, published by Drawn and Quarterly. Canon by Lee Lai, published by Drawn and Quarterly. Salt Green Death by Katarina Thorson, published by Conundrum. And The Last Band on Earth by Elaine M. Will, published by Renegade Arts Entertainment. And the winner of the Doug Wright Awards for 2026 is Canon by Lee Lai.
Hi. The last time I was here, it was COVID, and we were outside, and there was a bunch of trains going past every single time anyone tried to speak. So it really ruined the gravity, and so I'm actually kind of nervous to be speaking now. I really love TCAF. I'm obviously not from Canada. I moved here 10 years ago, and 10 years ago, I also came to TCAF. And I remember that as the year that I tried to meet a bunch of people that were like the comics heroes for me at the time, which were, the only two I remember was Charles Burns and Gillian Tamaki. And I remember being like, be cool, they're just people, just don't be weird. And I had like mastered the upper end of my body as I approached the signing line, and like I could remember talking to them and being totally normal, and then the lower end of my body was like shaking furiously, like my feet inside their shoes. So it's quite nice to be here 10 years later. The only other thing I can remember actually is that my friend Tommy Parrish, who's a wonderful Australian cartoonist, like any North American publishers, getting published was just the bee's knees, and they had just been published by Fantagraphics, and it was very exciting for everyone in the Australian community. And they were, you know, at the first day of TCAF, we were tabling together, and they were invited to the Fantagraphics dinner, and, you know, the Hernandez brothers were there, and we were losing it, and I was not invited because I was not published, and so they texted me saying, I feel really bad you're not here, I'll meet you afterwards. Like, there's all these famous people here, I cannot wait to gossip with you about this. And so they made some excuse to the Fantagraphics people to say, I have to do, this important thing has come up, I have to go somewhere early, I have to leave early. And they took all this food from the dinner in styrofoam containers, and they met me like 2 blocks down the road, and we sat down on the ground, like on the street, like little rats, and ate the food in the styrofoam containers. And then half an hour later, all the famous people from Fantagraphics left the restaurant and walked past us, sitting down on the ground, eating the leftovers out of the styrofoam containers. I didn't write a speech, can you tell? A few years after that, Fantagraphics took me on, and I'm very grateful, particularly to Jack and Gary, for championing my first book. And I'm very grateful to Drawn and Quarterly for championing my second. Thank you, everyone from Drawn and Quarterly who's here, Ken and Francine, Tom and Peggy, and also to Julia and particularly Tracy, who was my wonderful editor on this one and made it a much better book. And thank you also to my partner who's here, Samia, for also making it a much better book and talking about it way too much with me. I was in this panel that Hoche organized just before this on art and AI, and it was basically just everyone wringing their hands about how awful AI is. And we ended up on this tangent about how great it is to meet in person and not just online and celebrate our subcultures in person. And so thank you to all the organizers of the Doug Wright Awards and also of TCAF for giving us a chance to meet in person and be nerds together. It's wonderful. Thanks.
Big congrats to Lee. Thank you so much for being a part of our panel today. It was awesome. We have reached the end. I'm going to keep it short because I got to get home and prepare for TCAF tomorrow. So I just want to say thank you to Seth and Brad for creating these awards. Thank you to Conan for letting me be a part of the circus for the night. Thank you to you all for being here. I want to say Free Palestine. I want to say I want to say Happy Pride. I want to say fuck that moist, bloated sack of shit in the White House. And have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. The bar is open late. If you want a trophy tonight, we have a box to pack it in for you, so find one of us and we'll do that. But feel free to stay as long as you like tonight, or at least until 2.